In this episode, fat, 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 why are you so locked away? Come out and play, fat. I want to slay you. I want to slay you. These intros are getting way too intense. Too much coffee, too much bacon. Never too much bacon, never too much coffee.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Testicles. Welcome, everyone, to episode 645 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular Swolecast, Beardcast, Broadcast, Baconcast, Pimpcast, Slutcast, Whorecast, and Mancast in the realm. Because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. Oh. What up, bitches? What up, hoes? What up, sluts? What up, bustas? What up, pimps? What up, manhoes? What's going on, everyone? Hello on Facebook and Instagram Live. Thank you so much for joining me and also for tuning in to the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes. Just remember, you can always catch all the episodes, all 635 of them, SoundCloud, iTunes, Swolenormous, Daily Swole, all the time. I am everywhere. So welcome to the Gain Train. We're going to talk about fats today and why fat is locked away in your body, why you can't get rid of it. Pretty much why you're a fat ass and why you can't be unfat-assed. We have to get rid of that fat ass. That ass, though, and that ass might be fat, and it might be juicy, and it might be round and rotund, and it might be very, very becoming. But it could also be full of cottage cheese and everything that you want to go away. So let's talk about how you can help cut down on your body fat. Oh, what an intro. Good morning from Vegas. Vegas, baby. What's up, Ernest? What's going on? Fat with a PH? Do people still say that? Do we still say fat with a PH? That's so 90s, yo. That's so 90s. Get on the 90s train. Swole train. Get on the swole train. Oh, and don't forget, if you're watching live, you have to make sure that you're on beard, butter, and oil patrol because the stash is getting so long and so unkempt. Like I'm straightening I'm grooming it. It's getting to the point where it doesn't even look groomed when I groom it. I'm like putting maybe 50% effort into the whole grooming process of everything that's going up above my nips. I'm just, it's here. You know what I look like. I'm not a runway model. That's not what this is all about. This is about knowledge nukes. And it's also about whether or not I'm wearing pants. So we have a lot of mysteries going on with Daily Swole. It's like Scooby-Doo every day. Raggy, is Papa Swole wearing pants? Zoinks! No. My balls are just hanging out. Balls out, fam. Balls out. You look great, bro. Oh, thanks. Thank you. I wasn't fishing for compliments, but I do appreciate it. So thank you to everyone that's watching live. Remember Instagram and Facebook. So say what's up and ask questions because we'll do some Q&A. This is going to probably be a good Q&A episode because we're going to talk about fat. So let's just do a little rundown on a little bit of the general science on what fat does inside the body. Actually, even less than that. Super general stuff. Super general. There's no need to get into the actual fucking like the nitty gritty molecular stuff. I feel like in the fitness industry, people are either way too general and are focused on the wrong things, or they get too scientific and too anal about all the different names and the compounds. I feel like there's two extremes. There are people that don't know what they're talking about and pretend, and there are people that know way too much and are too micro focused. But I mean, if you're in front of a microscope, I mean, you should be focused like that. I mean, you have to do scientific testing, but let's not get too lost on the details in any of your nutrition, any of your fitness stuff. Don't get lost in the details. Keep focused on the main points and the general concepts. So with body fat, and how your body processes sugar is where it mostly comes into play. So already established that eating fat does not make you fat. That's a myth. That's a lie. It's not true. And The proof is in the pudding, the Papa Swolio pudding. I'm the proof. You eat a lot of fat, it doesn't make you fat. And essentially, you can think of it in the sense that your body will use the energy source that it is being provided with. And when you're consuming fats and your body is a fat burning machine, so to speak, you can tap into those stored stores. You can tap into those things you put in the trunk in the closet. How your body puts away food and stores calories is largely from the excess that's consumed from carbohydrates. That's what's usually stored as triglyceride. That's what's stored as glycogen. That's what's shoved away and saved for later. So when you're consuming carbohydrates, for example, your body releases insulin to taxi the sugar molecules around. So as your body digests the food, your body breaks down the carbohydrates you're consuming, some faster than others. Processed and refined carbohydrates absorb very quickly into the bloodstream. But when your body senses this surge of blood sugar, that the sugar levels rise quickly, your body will then release insulin from the pancreas. That's a hormone. And a hormone is just a chemical messenger. A hormone is a chemical messenger that does things. It takes care of business. It sends a message. It performs an action. It floats around the blood. And think about all these hormones as keys. And certain organs and certain cells have certain locks. And literally, these hormones just kind of float around and bump around until they until the key sticks into one of these organs or cell membranes and then affects a response. So it's not like a direct nerve impulse. Your body releases these taxi drivers to pick up the sugar. Insulin's a taxi, and just floats around, bumping around until it finds its docking port on the liver or on the muscle where it will store sugar where the sugar is needed, right? Where the sugar is needed, and sugar gets stored as glycogen. And that's kind of like putting stuff in a cardboard box and shoving it in your closet. So your body has sugar that it puts away, that it has sugar that it puts away for later. And your body will store that readily usable form of energy in the liver and in the muscles. And that's what your body prefers for strength training. So if you're not getting carbohydrates, you might get lightheaded, you might get dizzy. It can be more challenging to do bodybuilding and that kind of like strength type training on extremely low carb diets, why most people don't. But some people do low carb or ketosis styles of nutrition moving into these bodybuilding shows and to get leaner, because when you start cutting out carbohydrates, one of the reasons why people lose a lot of weight up front when they try to do ketosis, they think, oh, I'm doing keto. I lost 10 pounds in 3 weeks. You're not in ketosis yet. Ketosis is a complete shift of how your body utilizes fat and utilizes energy in the body. So instead of your body using sugar and glucose primarily for energy, your body will switch over to blood ketones. And that needs a very, 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 very carbohydrate sparse environment. So that's why ketosis is extremely high fat, extremely low protein, or more low fat, low carb, and then low protein. So it's mostly fats that you're consuming. So your body gets its energy from fats. The reason why when you start doing one of those low carb diets, you lose a lot of weight up front is because when you flush out carbohydrates, water goes with the carbs. So your body will flush out a lot of water and wow, I lost all this weight. No, you just lost water. No one's losing 10 or 15 pounds of fat in a week or in 2 weeks. You're losing a lot of water. Water. Your body is 70% water. You lose a lot of water. And when you cut out carbohydrates, you're going to lose water, not fat. No one's losing fat that fucking quickly. Okay? This isn't some kind of magic show. You don't lose fat that quickly. You lose water. Okay? So I still eat carbohydrates. I keep the carbohydrates more around when I'm training. I keep it more minimal. I eat a lot more fiber. I'm not in ketosis, but I do a higher fat diet because I prefer it. It's more satisfying. There's more nutrients in fattier foods. There's more energy. There's more calories. And it's a host of the ability to absorb vitamins and minerals more efficiently, to be more satisfied, to keep my insulin levels more stable. I can stay leaner when I'm consuming more fats. And this is not getting into whether we should be consuming fat or not, or vegan or omnivore. That's not this discussion. just putting it out there how your body will actually store fat. Now, when you're consuming a lot of carbohydrates, your body depends on this insulin system that I just explained. When there's blood sugar present, your body releases insulin. When the sugar gets absorbed and there's not as much sugar floating around the blood, your body will reabsorb insulin. So insulin is released. It's naturally produced in the body. Insulin is released when there's sugar present. So when there are passengers, your body releases the taxi to go pick up the passengers. If you're eating tons and tons and tons and tons of carbs and sugar and there are too many passengers and there's too much insulin floating around, the organs or the cells that usually respond to insulin get annoyed. Over time, they just get annoyed or they get just fucking pissed off and they start ignoring the insulin, essentially. They become, I want to say immune, but they become non-responsive. And some of these other chemicals and fillers and artificial foods, there are a lot of, I don't know how many concrete studies there are, but these things like trans fats and these elements that are fake in our diet and nutrition can affect what goes on the cell membranes. Can affect what's going on the cell membranes. So when you're consuming some of these artificial fats and sugars and molecules, it can take the binding site. It can mimic some of these other types of molecules and change how the body allows things to go in and out of the cell. So there's other issues as a result of having artificial foods or having excessive carbohydrate intakes. But what has been linked to obesity and linked to having challenges getting rid of body fat is because of the carbohydrate intake. If you're on that insulin roller coaster, think of what your body's doing. You're teaching your body, and this is as simple as I can really make it. You're teaching your body that sugar is what it should expect, that it should be dealing with sugar, that it should be handling sugar, that it should be storing sugar and packing that away, and sugar, 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 sugar. There's no surprise, really. If you look at it from that kind of like, generalized aspect, there's no surprise that your body is having a tough time tapping into fat stores because you are fueling it with sugar. You're fueling it with tons of carbohydrates. You're giving it more carbohydrates than it needs. And a lot of carbohydrates are very devoid of nutrients. You're not getting a lot of value, especially when you start going to breads and pasta. You're not getting a lot of nutritional value. You're not getting a lot of nutritional value from those types of carbohydrates. You're getting some starch, you're getting some glycogen, you're getting those types of those elements that the insulin is shuttling around, but you're not getting a lot of value. And we fill ourselves up. The reason why human beings like carbohydrates is because they're filling, right? What's your favorite carbohydrate meal? Like you're filled, you get full, but it's temporary. And carbohydrates bring on water. So there goes your water retention. Those of you that feel bloated, you can have inflammation from the grains. You can have inflammation from the wheat germ agglutinin, from the actual gluten itself. You can have inflammation, have these reactions that cause a series or a chain of inflammatory reactions that cause more fat retention than what you're consuming, more water retention than what should be normal. So if you are wrapping your body and wrapping your whole system around carbohydrates, you're literally on this insulin roller coaster where you have a lot of sugar that comes in and insulin goes up and then it plummets and then it goes back up and then you have a crash, right? If you have that 2 o'clock crash, that 3 o'clock crash, it's because you're based on sugar. You're eating carbs mostly. You're probably not drinking enough water, not sleeping, who knows what else you're doing. But if you are on more of a fat adapted diet, you minimize or eliminate completely that crash. So any of you that are doing mostly fat, drop in the comments below if you agree with that point or if you have the same experience that I just mentioned with lack of cravings and you feel more satisfied. With carbohydrates, you're going to get that crash. You're going to feel that emptiness that you have to refill. And what happens is when you're refilling with all these simple carbohydrates or these excessive carbohydrates, plus anyone that is not really exercising regularly, then you have this surplus and this high insulin. You have all these taxi cabs and all these drivers with all this sugar, and the muscles are satisfied, the liver's satisfied. There's no more storage that needs to exist. And you have all these passengers that have nowhere to go, and your body's like, oh, we'll put this away. We'll store it away as fat. We'll store it as triglycerides. We'll keep it keep this off to the side and save it for later. Your body wants to keep food. Your body wants to keep energy. So I posted on Instagram yesterday that your body loves being fat. Your body loves being fat. Your body wants to be fat. Your body wants to stay being fat. Always. Your body loves being fat. Why would your body? It's like you having money in the bank. Do you like money in the bank? Do you like money in the bank? Of course you do. You like having money put away. But in terms of your body, you don't personally want that, but your body does. Your body wants to have extra fat. And when you're consuming carbohydrates dominantly, your body loses that efficiency and that ability and understanding of how to tap into those fat stores. So then just cutting carbohydrates, all of a sudden you think you cut carbs. Oh, I'm having trouble losing this fat. I cut my calories. Yeah, but you haven't retrained your body. You haven't actually accessed those fat stores because your hormones are all fucked up. Your hormones are all fucked up. All your receptors are jacked up. Your hormones are imbalanced. And your body is just, you might have been doing this for 30 or 40 years. All of a sudden, you're going to cut your calories from 2,500 to 18, and you wonder why you don't lose fat. Think about how fucking ludicrous that is. Think about how fucking ludicrous that is. Who the fuck do you think you are, right? Who the fuck do you think you are? You eat like garbage from conception until you're 40 years old. And then I have a pouch around my stomach. You're a human being. You've been eating shitty for 30 or 40 years. You've had 3 kids, ladies or guys, even if you haven't had children. Of course, guys don't have babies. But a lot of guys out there look like they're pregnant. So if you're a female, you've had a few kids, you're a guy. I mean, you've been eating shitty and your body has changed tremendously in 30 or 40 years. And all of a sudden you think, oh, I'm going to cut 1,000 calories a day, eating pretty much the same shit that you normally do. And you think you're going to fucking change. You think you're going to fucking change because you cut a few hundred calories out of your diet. Oh, I'm eating some more spinach and I'm not eating McDonald's anymore. Oh, then everyone should bow to you. You shall have your 6-pack in 3 weeks. Oh, I don't want to wait 3 weeks. I ordered my shampoo on Amazon Prime and it came in 2 days. Meh. Most of you think something's going to happen super quick. It's going to take fucking months and years, but you have to reverse this process. Bottom line, you have to understand that the process can be reversed in some cases to a point, but you have to shift your body's way of doing things. And that takes time. And it's not easy. It's not easy to just tap into those fat stores just because you want to. So just tweaking a couple calories and maybe not eating one specific type of food isn't going to overhaul your body's way of like, oh, now I'm going to go here for energy instead because so-and-so is eating some more fucking green beans. That's not how it works. Like it's a massive shift. And those of you that are doing ketosis, all these messages I get that, oh, I'm doing keto. Those of you that are doing keto for 2 weeks, newsflash, you're not in ketosis. Eating a high-fat diet for a couple days is not ketosis. It's not keto. It's called not eating carbohydrates. Ketosis takes a few to several weeks if you have the patience for it. And a lot of times you go through horrific flu-like symptoms where your nose is runny. You might feel like shit, headaches and stuff like that from the carb depletion and from the imbalance of neurotransmitters that you're used to and all those things and blah, blah, blah. But ketosis takes at least a few weeks to get into. So there's that shift over period. Doesn't mean it's not good. I think ketosis is great. I think high fat is great. I don't think ketosis is necessary. You don't have to go that extreme, but a fat adapted diet can definitely help you, but it takes time. Your body has to learn that shift. Mike Stuttle, I'm slowly reversing my diabetes. Seriously, eating better and lifting, yoga, and lots of stretching. It's real. It sure can be. It sure can be. It's not that complicated, but it does take time. It does take time. It's real. Slowly reversing. Think about how fast your body is decaying, right? When you have these diseases. You have to slow that process down and reverse it and get some momentum the other way. It takes a long time. So this stuff doesn't happen overnight. So let's take some questions. And that's just a little bit on how your body will react to that insulin roller coaster. It's not good, fam. It's not good. You don't want that roller coaster. You don't want that a part of your life. And fat keeps you off of that because you don't get that same spike. You don't get that same insulin release. You don't get that same response from consuming fat. Plus, it's more satisfying. It's more satisfying. And it doesn't mean that vegetables are bad. It doesn't mean that micronutrients can't be found there. That's okay, but it can complement having a nice full fat nutritional diet from natural foods, from anti-inflammatory foods, staying away from grains, staying away from all these. Most grains are inflammatory, or they're refined, or they're processed. What do you normally eat for carbohydrates? Sugar, right? You're drinking sugar, whether it's soda, candy, cereals, that's processed. Bread, that's processed. It's processed. Bread is processed. Uh, Rice can be inflammatory. All these carbohydrates can be inflammatory. Not to mention milk is pasteurized and is more sugar based and you're getting low fat. I mean, if you had raw, full fat, whole cow's milk, that would be a lot better. You get actual nutrients. But when you pasteurize it and you strip all the fat, then it becomes just sugar water. It becomes white sugar water. It becomes just like a gallon of jizz, a gallon of supermarket jizz. That's all, skim milk is like fucking sadness. It's like liquid sadness, only it looks like jizz. A2 milk. A2 milk is an option. You have goat milk and sheep's milk. I mean, raw is always going to be better. It's just hard to find. I mean, you can get those co-ops because a lot of times it's illegal. But when you pasteurize food, you're killing good bacteria along with the bad. A lot of times they'll say, oh, we'll pasteurize it because it's safer. That's not really true. That's not really true. People are drinking raw milk for thousands of years. Pasteurization kills the bacteria, sterilizes it, but it's also denaturing proteins. It's killing off good bacteria that's in the milk. There's a balance. If you're healthy and you're getting clean sources, raw things are not bad. You eat sushi. This is how it's prepared and why rice and pasta are bad. Inflammatory. They're inflammatory. They're grain-based. So those of you that are just coming in, that are asking some of these basic questions, you obviously you might be new to the community, so make sure you go back and watch previous episodes. There are 635 of them, so it's a lot of work to do, but you can also go on YouTube, type in Swolenormous plus a keyword. So if you want, type in Swolenormous and then nutrition, type in Swolenormous fat, Swolenormous ketosis, just type those search words into YouTube and it'll pull up all my videos with those keywords. So if you want specific episodes, you can go there and then you can look it up on YouTube and then you can always just go, oh, it's number 422 and then go on SoundCloud or Apple Podcasts and then catch up on those specifically. So some of these questions I'm just going to breeze over because they're asked commonly or we've talked about it because we did an episode on the elimination diet and inflammatory foods recently. I've done a bunch of them, a bunch of content on fat and these things. So if you're new, if it's your first time to the podcast or the show, make sure you say first time in the comments. You're absolutely welcome. You're welcome to ask anything, but certain things I might just glaze over because we talk about it often. Been following for 201 days. You remember. See, everyone remembers their first daily Swole. It's like when you first had sex, when you lost your virginity, everyone remembers their first Swole. It's very similar to losing your virginity because it's knowledge fisting. It's just all this knowledge just jam-packed in. It's just getting a knowledge train. The knowledge train it just blows minds. It blows minds. How should I replace? I don't know what that means. First time live. Welcome, Jim Ellis. All right, let me scroll through some of the questions. I'll scroll through on Instagram. Instagram's usually more quiet. But make sure when you're on Instagram, you just join. You're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to comment on Instagram. Don't be afraid. I can't scroll back too far on Instagram. There's a limitation, but ask questions. First timer, welcome, Richard. Welcome. Make sure all of you that are first timers, remember, it's live every day at 12 noon Eastern time. So I'm always on Facebook. If I can, I'll do both on Instagram as well. But all the episodes are also podcast. So if you're not following me on Instagram, follow me because I'll let you know when the new podcast is up, SoundCloud and iTunes. So Apple Podcasts as well. And you can find all the episodes there. So make sure you are turning on your post notifications. That could be a problem too, as Instagram and Facebook are conjoined. They update their algorithms regularly, so you might not see when I go live or when the latest post happens unless you manually turn on notifications. So on Instagram, the 3 dots, the ellipses in the top right corner, go and turn on notifications. And on Facebook, you can go to my site on my Facebook page, and you can adjust the settings so I show up first in your news feed. You can customize that so you get alerted when I go live. Trembolone on Instagram. Carb loading prior to big workouts, double headers in baseball, carb cycling. I'm not a fan of carb cycling. I think that's too nitpicky. But I mean, if you're carb loading before an athletic activity, I think that's still done today for like endurance events. For baseball, yeah, I'm not sure you really have to carb load for baseball. It's not that. I mean, I played baseball for most of my life. It's not that intense, like physically. Baseball is mostly like standing around. That's what I realized looking back on my baseball career. I look back and I'm like, oh shit, I thought I was an athlete. Baseball players, I mean, baseball players are athletes like once in a while. Like once in a while, you'll do something athletic. It's like you may be athletic today, but we're not sure yet. It could happen in a couple hours or it might not happen at all. Like you could literally be on a baseball field and do next to nothing and be like playing a quote sport. So you could literally be in the outfield, never get a ball hit to you, and just be there and do fucking nothing. Just be wearing uncomfortable cleats and just standing in a field. That's what I felt like baseball was. Like you're standing on a field for like half the time. So when I look back on it, shit, it wasn't fucking physically active at all. But yeah, I mean, you're there, you're still there all day if it's a double header and stuff like that. I get it. But yeah, for more endurance races, like if you're a triathlete or you do a lot of cycling, those types of things could be better. Yeah, I mean the carb cycling, low carb, and then one day high carb, you can, but I never liked it. I don't like it because when you do carb cycling, you're still training your body to run off carbs. And I feel like once you do those low carb days, you get so depleted because you're dependent on carbs. If you just have more of a fat adapted diet, you're just cool. You're good. But then again, there's something for everyone. Some people I know swear by carb cycling. Do any of you watching right now swear by carb cycling? And that means like a series of low carb days followed by like a refeeding, quote unquote, where you have like one high day of carbs and maybe a moderate day and then you go back to low. I never liked that. I tried a couple times. I just don't like it at all. I don't like having a day where I have to do a certain thing. I like being consistent more. But that's just for me. Everyone's different with that, that's for sure. Scourge of desires. Hair thinning is hormonal, but is there something diet-wise one can do to stop the slow process? I don't know. I mean, high fat is really good for skin and nails and hair, in my opinion. I mentioned that a couple times. And a lot of people on Facebook was mentioning that yesterday. That, and I mentioned because I've been getting a lot of comments about my skin or my hair. Like, oh, what do you put in your beard? What do you put in your hair? I'm very basic with that. I'm very basic with what what I use in terms of soaps and lotions. Like, I don't use like crazy stuff. I don't do a lot of maintenance like that. But I eat a lot of fat, so I don't know. My skin is radiant. And I've been getting a lot of positive feedback, people asking me and women like, what do you do for your skin? What do you do for your hair? I do have a high fat diet. And I do think that's related because a lot of people here say they feed their dogs super high fat diets and their coats are really shiny and silky. So, why would it be different for humans or that different? High fat does a beard good. I think so. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? Right? This is the Papa Swolio pudding. Chase Welty on Facebook. Yeah, carbs that come from in-season fruit and veggies. Yeah. And that's a whole other conversation, the in-season fruits. Those are always better. If you're eating fruits in season, when you start eating fruit out of season, you're getting them from other locations. You're getting pre-ripened fruit. You can have inflammatory issues from that. Sweet potato. First time live. James Jackson, the knowledge base is amazing. Take some time to go back and listen to the archives. Thanks, James. There's a lot of stuff there. I always love when people ask what episode I talked about something in particular. I'm thinking, shit, I don't remember what happened yesterday, let alone in episode 492 or something, or 491. There's a lot of content out there. But it's easily searchable on YouTube for sure. Let me hit the reset on the video. So keep those questions coming. I'm going to scroll through a couple more, and Facebook I can roll back a little bit deeper and get some questions that you might have asked towards the beginning of the show. Jake Fuller, fairly new to the show podcast. I'm loving the info. Keep the knowledge nukes coming. Thanks, bro. Bro Sivas. Thanks, fam. Your opinion on almond milk. Someone says almonds don't have nips. I'm not a fan of almond milk. I have no need. I have no need for almond milk. Almonds themselves aren't that bad. There could be stabilizers like carrageenan and things that are in the milk that aren't good. I don't know. I mean, I would do if you're doing an elimination diet, I would cut it out and see how you react to it. Um, I just don't like your. I think almond milk, and those types of like nut milks are just excuses to get around dairy. It's just another industry that was built. I mean, you can get off that. Have some more butter. You know, if you're putting in your coffee, try bulletproof coffee. Go for some grass-fed butter and MCT oil. It's like having a latte. Been doing that for years. So, I mean, my opinion on almond milk, is it bad? I'm not sure if there's research that says it's bad. I mean, some of the things you can add to it probably be detrimental. It's definitely not like a health food. It's definitely not something that, oh, I want to be healthier, I'm going to start drinking almond milk, or I'm going to replace my milk with almond milk. Now I'm doing something good. I still think it should be eliminated completely. I don't see the application for milk at all, except if it's a little bit in coffee and tea. And then, like I said, you can do other methods to sweeten it or lighten it, but you're not going to be eating cereal, so you don't need milk for that. And what else do you need almond milk for? You're not eating garbage cereal. I mean, it's just coffee. I mean, try bulletproof coffee. If you don't know what that is, you can Google that. It's tasty. Over 8 months of hard work, Mike. It takes time. It takes time, fam. Dun. We got questions. Scrolling up. Blaine Charles, no sunglasses one of these days. Bro, anyone that doesn't know what I look like without sunglasses doesn't watch any of my content. So no, that's unlikely. But I'm sunglasses less all the time. All the time. You inject insulin 5 times daily. Does insulin make you retain weight? Insulin helps draw sugar into the body and helps saturate the liver and saturate the muscles. So it helps the carbs get to where it needs to go if you're injecting insulin. So if you're injecting insulin, it means your body is not producing insulin. That's what type 1 diabetes is. Your body needs insulin into its system because there's no insulin present. Your body is not producing insulin. Type 2 diabetes is when your body pretty much shuts down and starts ignoring insulin because it's blown out, it's annoyed, there's too much sugar. Your body is pretty much pissed off and annoyed by all the insulin that's around and starts rejecting, becomes more unreceptive to the insulin bringing the sugar to the muscles. And then you could have problems because then your body cannot clear the sugar out of the blood. And then blood glucose can raise. You can have issues like blindness, death, and all those other things that are bad from having imbalanced sugar levels. The body is all about homeostasis, whether we're talking about, that's why I made the post on Instagram saying your body wants to be fat, which is true. Your body wants to be fat because it is fat. When your body is skinny, your body wants to be skinny. Your body your body really always errs towards the side of wanting to be fat because that means it has calories, that means it has insulation, that means it has energy and can go without eating. So if there's a food shortage, your body can survive. Your body will always want to be a little bit more on the fat side because that's being successful in terms of your body's eyes. Your body wants to have extra storage. Muscles and millions. If you could put anything, oh, Facebook just crashed. If you could put anything on a billboard that would be seen by everyone in the United States, what would it be? Probably my website. Probably my website. Or at Swolenormous. And then people would come and look for Papa Swole because I'm everywhere. One thing that you'll know for a fact, I'm just pausing for a second because Facebook crashed. When someone sees a billboard, it's not going to change their mind. You are dumbass. Alp to joke. Well, speak English. You are dumbass. Yeah, Facebook crashed. So you're not going to change anyone's view from a billboard. You're not going to, there's nothing that you're going to say that, wow, that's true. I'm going to change who I am. So the only thing you can do is give them something simple, something actionable. And really, I wouldn't put anything on a billboard because no one's looking at billboards. Everyone's looking at their phones. So if I could have one of those emergency signals that gets sent out that goes bzz, bzz, and then all you see on your phone, that's more effective than a billboard. That would be more effective. Bro, what are you eating? What are eating? I eating coffee. I'm eating coffee. So Facebook cut out. I don't know if it's saved, but I'm going to go back online on Facebook just because I don't know if it's going to save to the timeline or not. So let me start this back up and say hi. Just for the record, I'm not sure if the last video saved, but if you're on Facebook and this is the only one that you're seeing from today, the app crashed on me. So I'm not sure if that got saved, but the podcast is continuous, fam. So if ever, for example, if you're watching the show and it gets cut off or the app crashes, or sometimes if potentially, if I'm not in the office, I might not be able to go live on both Instagram and Facebook. So I will default to one or the other, but the podcast will always have the entire episode because my podcast doesn't crash. I'm always getting audio on the podcast, but sometimes it's happened before. Instagram crashes, the Facebook Pages app is garbage. It's always been shitty compared to Facebook. So the app that you are all using on Facebook to watch my show is not what I use to broadcast. And the regular Facebook app is so much more stable than what they give businesses to use. So whether or not it's saved to whether or not it's saved to the timeline, I'm not sure. Tyler, SoundCloud never lets me down. Yeah, no, it doesn't. SoundCloud's always got it. So you can watch live, you can dip in, but I always highly recommend. It's so easy. It's so easy to just do the podcast. You can have your subscription, right, on SoundCloud. You can, subscribe to the podcast and you'll get an alert every time I upload it. And then boom, you have it. Same thing with Apple Podcast. It just gets push notification that, Papa Swolio added some new ish. Also on Apple Podcast, I'm uploading, there's 2 podcasts that I have, by the way. There's the Daily Swole, and there's also Swolenormous Audio. So Swolenormous Audio is also done. I do it through Anchor, and I've been doing that for fucking almost feels like years, months. And I used to put Daily Swole episodes there, but now I'm doing little snippets, real short, 2, 3, 4, 5 minute things, little clips and stuff. So that's going to be additional podcast and audio content. So if you're not following Swolenormous Audio and you haven't checked that out on Apple Podcast, make sure you do that. So just type in Swolenormous, you'll see Daily Swole and all those playlists, current, and Swolenormous Audio. I think Swolenormous Audio had up to like 500 something, but it got clunky. The app that I used for that and to upload the episodes and that convert and blah blah blah. It just got to be just unrealistic to do that much extra work. So now I'm just using it for little clips and additional things I'm doing around when I'm at the gym and motivation, inspiration stuff and tidbits and little nukes. So make sure you follow both of those. Additional awesome stuff. One or two more questions. Jebby5. What about fat diets and heart issues? Cardiologists don't endorse high fat. Cardiologists don't endorse high fat because of what they were taught and what they're ingrained and what the pharmaceutical companies pump. Pharmaceutical companies make tons of money off drugs that support. When diet becomes policy, if you there's great books out there that explain how the low fat diet got into popularity and got into policy, and it's criminal actually because it's not based on real science, it's not based on any conclusive evidence. So now everyone was just pushing low fat, taught that in medical schools and this, that, and the other. I mean, I can't legally say that, go high fat and don't listen to your doctor, but you can do the research yourself. It's out there. I don't have to say it. Other people have said it already. So I can't tell you to go against your doctor's orders, for example. But most any of that low fat stuff is just the opposite. The opposite. Low fat is not linked to better heart health. It's not. The research shows otherwise. And all the spikes of all these diseases completely correlates with the rise in soybean oil and vegetable oil and the consumption of chicken and poultry and less quality meats. Fit people having heart attacks because of their high fat diets. What healthy fit people are having heart attacks because of high fat diets? Healthy people are having heart attacks because of low fat diets. Where are you seeing high fat diets causing heart attacks? And understand that people, and here's another little tidbit, because it was like policy and because people that are promoting low fat for decades, and doctors were saying low fat, low fat, low fat, low fat. Anyone that was eating high fat was essentially going against doctors' orders. So those are the types of people that also smoke, don't exercise, and do a lot of other things wrong too. So you still have to be healthy. Share some knowledge about Kegels. How often should they be done? Muscles and millions. Funny story. When I first saw you, I thought you were paleo. I don't even know what paleo technically is. I mean, there's so many little sub. Paleo is kind of like keto, in my opinion. Then I saw you eat gummy bears, and I was like, my ninja. I haven't consumed those in a long time. In a long time. Any videos you see of those are usually pretty old or pieced together. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to be perfect all the time. But if you're 99.9% on point, like you can fuck around once in a while, but you feel it more. You feel it. You'll pay the price when you eat junk or you eat pizza, and all of a sudden, when you don't for a while, you feel all the aches and the shittiness, and you realize how bad the fucking food is when you really feel like ass after you consume. I see it. Know people eating lots of eggs and bacon are fit and had heart attacks. That's not related though. See, that's the difference. You see people that eat lots of eggs and bacon and are fit. Those are all, that's subjective. What are you defining as fit? What type of eggs are they eating? What type of bacon are they eating? What else are they doing or not doing? Do they have a family history of heart disease? There's a lot of things. What right there, first off, there's no evidence. You're just giving some general statements. And that's a good point because that's what the government did. Took general correlations or general stats on a large scale, an epidemiological study. You can Google what epidemiological is. And it's just literally, oh, all these people fill out this questionnaire. And I talked about this the other day when I'm explaining that if you take one of those big studies, you might find that people that have heart attacks more frequently own white cars. So let's say we find a correlation between white cars and heart attacks. Does that mean that if you buy a white car that you're more like that you're going to have a heart attack? No, it's just an association. It's called correlation, but not causation. So that doesn't mean that you're going to buy a white car and have a heart attack. It just happens to be that, oh, people that own white cars have more heart attacks. That's just like fucking, okay, that's one of those, it's a fluke, it's a correlation, but it doesn't mean that one causes the other. It also doesn't mean that if you have a heart attack, you're going to go buy a white car. So a lot of times there's other things that come into play with that. Bum, bum, bum. I'm eating bacon and eggs right now. Facebook crashed because this podcast is too swole. Yeah. That's what we're going to say. Anytime it crashes, it just can't handle the bandwidth of these sick fucking gains. It's like masturbating and have someone walk in on you. Disappointing. Brandon Melvin. So I'm doing 2 workouts a day, morning weights with a little cardio, and then cardio and abs at night. Does it make any difference if I'm recovering from weight lifting during the day versus while sleeping? I'm more concerned with why you're doing cardio twice a day. What's your goal, Brandon Melvin? That's a lot of cardio. I don't even do cardio once a day, let alone twice a day. So doing weights, then cardio, and then cardio and abs, that's a lot of cardio, bro. You're losing some time to lift. Justin Hummel. I noticed that the majority of professional bodybuilders eat only the whites in eggs. What's the main reason? I don't know. When you're doing competition, certain dietary principles, this is the biggest reason, is that bodybuilding is not healthy. Don't associate bodybuilding with health. And being extremely low body fat is not healthy. I keep forgetting that that's probably not common knowledge, But being lean, like abs, like, I mean, I'm lean, but I'm not like shredded, because then you're not getting enough fats in your diet. You're not getting enough nutrients, because if you don't have fat, you're not storing vitamins and minerals as effectively. It affects your endocrine system, your hormone production. It affects the balance in your body. And human beings are not meant to be like, you could be lean and you can have veins and you can be, quote unquote shredded. But when you say shredded, and we say shredded in the industry, that's understand what these terms mean. They're very subjective. What I think is shredded, a lot of people are like, dude, you're shredded. I'm like, I'm lean. I don't feel shredded. Depends on what you're comparing it to. Are you comparing me to someone that's on, a Mr. Olympia stage that's dieted down? And okay, I would say that person's shredded. But so what are you comparing it to? So being happy is relative, it's subjective. But when you cut down fats a lot, when you're doing before competition, there are certain ways where you can get your body to get extra lean and dry. You're also doing water depletion. So bodybuilders aren't doing fitness for health. That's the biggest misconception, is that being that lean or being a bodybuilder is health oriented. It's not. That sport of bodybuilding, specifically getting on stage depletion, that's not healthy. Bodybuilding, like building muscles and aesthetics and strength and balance and flexibility and yoga, that type of bodybuilding is healthy. But the sport of bodybuilding is extremely unhealthy. Extremely unhealthy. Good question, though, man. Good question. I don't do contest prep. I don't try to get that lean. I don't do that kind of like dieting down. But it's caloric restriction. It's lowering fats. I mean, your body goes through different phases, especially when you're trying to get that lean unnaturally and unmaintainably lean. You have to go through some extra steps. Plus, don't forget, this entire country has been revolving around fat being the devil for 70 years. So low fat has been pounded into people's brains. We've learned to be low fat. We've learned that growing up. Any tips for reducing caffeine intake and not feeling like shit during the transition? I think there are aren't there like supplements that are supposed to repair or redevelop your adrenals that get blown out from caffeine? More water, sleep, maybe some Celtic sea salt in your water if you're trying to wean off caffeine. I mean, if you go cold turkey, you're going to feel it. But I don't know, maybe there's some old wives' tale or old remedy for weaning off caffeine. I never have that problem because coffee. Like, why wean off caffeine? Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? Good questions, fam. I love this, and if I have an opinion or a personal experience, I'll tell you. But if I don't know, I'm also going to tell you I don't know. And I think it's very important to not know things. First off, it makes life more interesting because you get to find things out. But when you think about how we have these discussions, right? And you think about, oh, so-and-so is eating high fat, like the questions I was getting on Instagram. This girl knew a couple people that had bacon and eggs and they were having heart attacks, or they were supposedly fit. Okay, let's say that's true. Let's say that, wow, they're supposed to be healthy. They're eating bacon, eggs, and had heart attacks. That's, let's say, 2 people or 3 people. We have to realize that on any kind of, who here, has anyone done statistics? Does anyone here know statistics, like how statistics work? I'm not an expert, but I've taken enough statistics classes and looked at enough graphs. You always have what's known as outliers. So you have like the bell curve and like the p-value, right? So if you take, let me just to summarize and to give like a generality. When you take data, let's say you summarize data, you do a test. Let's say you do it on 1,000 people. You're going to have generally, what's it, like 99.7 or 91 point, that the standard deviation. So you have the majority of people are going to fall in this middle range. Okay. You're going to have a high percentage of people that fall within this general meat. But then you're always going to have like these random data points around. And sometimes that's because the test wasn't done properly. Sometimes it's because people are different. Everyone reacts differently. So you might have this conversation or be exposed to 1 or 2 of these people that are off on the data point, or they just have a unique situation. What about the people that are contortionists, right? That naturally they can bend themselves into a fucking box. They didn't train to do that. I mean, of course, they practice to get better and better at doing that, at getting into like a tiny box and being like a circus ninja, but they're naturally double jointed and extremely pliable. That's not normal. So there are people that are not normal like that. And when I say by normal, normal meaning they are not within the norm, the standard norm. They're not within that one or two standard deviations. They're not in that general box that we all find ourselves mostly in. We have 400 million people in this country that are exposed to specific diets. Think about that. We have 3 or 400 million people that have been exposed to specific nutritional guidelines since we were born. Low fat, eat 2,000 calories a day, low cholesterol, blah, blah, blah. It permanently affects how our bodies work and how our mind works. It's like learning religion when you're younger. Some people are religious zealots and they believe everything the Bible says word for word, and that's the fact. Some of you might be like that, okay, but you learn that. You were programmed to believe that when you were a baby. And now it's like, that's just the way it is. We're programmed. We're animals. Your dog knows its name. You train your dog to know its name by saying this specific word and phrase and syllables over and over again. And it learns that, when Dash says that word with that phrase and that tone, he wants me to come over. We're taught those things too. We're programmed. We're animals. That's how it works. What is a well-balanced diet and what do you eat on a daily basis? We just talked about that, bro. So I can't go into that right now. We just talked about high fat and we talked about that for a while. So best thing to do is to go back and check out the beginning of this episode. We just went over a lot of that content. Higher fat. I'm a big fan of higher fat. I'm a big fan. Is that the only way to eat? No. A lot of other people would find other methods. You're going to have people in here that are vegans and love doing that. I don't see it. I don't get it. Doesn't mean it's for me, though. Let's see. Because yellow egg is fat. Yeah, the egg yolk, but there's also the majority of the nutrients are in the egg yolks. All our doctors are dying of heart attacks. Doctors are overweight. Doctors are unhealthy. Let's see. Well, they eat egg whites because of the protein, getting back to the bodybuilders. I mean, we know why, but there's also a ton of protein in the egg yolk. There's a ton of, all right. My dad just popped in, Papa Swole on Instagram. He has been doing high fat ketosis, high fat, low carb. Completely changed his health. Improved his health, right? All your numbers are better, like in terms of blood work, right? You can comment there. Hit him with the science. I will. There's a difference between atherosclerosis and arterial sclerosis. Yes. And actually, we're not going to get into that right now. This is going to turn into I'll have a heart surgeon come on the show. We'll start having guests at some point. Hit him with the science. Coffee is a necessary substance for life. Now we're getting off the actual topic. Now we're just getting into just extra stuff. My reason for cardio is I can't get rid of my midsection fat. It's driving me crazy. Well, doing extra cardio is not going to help you, bro. Sorry. It's not going to help you. You need to go back to your nutrition. You need to lift more weights. So if you want to, you could message me. Aren't you in Swolenormous X, Brandon? If you're not, you might want to you might want to join the family, bro, and start getting into some systematic training and really lock down your nutrition. Triglycerides dropped 80 points in 3 months. Now, this is very important, fam. There's more of a correlation and there's more causation for triglycerides causing heart disease than LDL cholesterol. So what has been demonized is cholesterol and saturated fats for decades. You've probably heard of LDL cholesterol. It's like, oh no, don't eat too much cholesterol. First off, dietary cholesterol does not mean that your blood cholesterol is going to go up. And then it's more important to have your HDL cholesterol increase than your LDL to decrease. So LDL isn't really the big deal, even if that goes up. It's more important that your HDL goes up. And they found more of a correlation between triglycerides being high and that being more of a marker of heart disease. So eating a high diet or high fat diet and dropping your triglycerides, that's what's important. And you can look that up. What up from Iowa? Pretty sure a world without coffee is not a world we want to be a part of. Dan Stevens on Facebook, I can't say I disagree with you. I love coffee. There's certain things that's like, I could eliminate caffeine in coffee, but I could also keep on living my life and keep a smile on my face. I just saw a video of Phil Heath talking about the same things, Dash, about Oh, really? Tom, you might want to send me a link to that. I'd like to watch that. Let's see. Justin Hummel, Brandon, what helped me was cutting dairy and switching from peanut butter to almond butter. Peanut butter is very inflammatory. Peanut butter is also very high in omega-6s. So that cutting down on that will help a lot. Does too much cardio hinder building muscle? I'm always reading this. It utilizes energy. When you're doing a lot of cardio does not burn fat. Cardio does not burn fat. You're not eating fat when you're doing cardio. Your body might be aerobic, but you're not maintaining muscle tissue and just like isolating the fat only. You're better off, honestly, if you want a physique, and most people want a physique in aesthetics, you're better off lifting weights and working on your nutrition and keeping the cardio minimal for heart health. You could still do your cardiovascular, but don't prioritize it over weight training. If you do too much cardio, the reason why pro bodybuilders and you see like, wow, but they're doing 2 hours of cardio a day, they're also injecting a shit ton of steroids. So that's keeping their hormones at an unrealistic and unnatural level, allowing them to do extra cardio to deplete water and fat while maintaining muscle tissue. So someone who's natural, that is just doing this, trying to be healthy, when you do so much cardio, cortisol levels will go through the roof. Your body will fucking like flatline, in the sense that you'll hit that wall and overtrain, and your body doesn't want naturally. Fam, your body does not want to get rid of fat. Fat is stored energy. Fat is protection. Fat is investment. Fat is money in the bank. So when you're natural, when you're not taking anabolic steroids, your body wants to keep fat. If you get too lean and you get too depleted and you cut calories too much, your body thinks, oh shit, I'm starving. I got to protect my fat. And it does that. And then you can't get rid of that little weight around your stomach, blah, 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 because you're not giving your body enough nutrients for it to get rid of the extra. You have to satisfy your body with extra to get rid of the extra. It makes a lot of sense, but it's a little bit counterintuitive for what you think. Most people are doing too much caloric restriction and not eating the right foods. I always say that. If you're eating the right shit, you don't have to count shit. All right. Good comments. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Great questions.